I went from gold to grandmaster in 8 hours with a 78% win rate. In this video, I reveal the secret to my rapid growth in ranked and go over changes I made to my mentality and methodology that I believe were essential to getting me out of gold and all the way to GM in 8 hours. It worked for me, and I hope it works for you. I've never been a great gamer. My usual ranks are around gold or plat. By changing my mentality and methodology, I reached grandmaster for the first time in Marvel Rivals and even went back to Overwatch and reached diamond. So if you are stuck in gold or any of the medal ranks, hopefully this video is for you. Let's get into it. Marvel Rivals is designed in a way that enables you to rank up without being the carry. And no, I'm not talking about rank inflation where you climb with a negative win rate. I'm talking about open queue. In my experience, it is rare that any discussions happen before people are locking in characters. And in order for a balanced team to be put together, someone usually has to lock in a role that they might not be the best at.
Travel kit with the right credit card. Watch out there, heading our way.
Herein lies the secret to climb to grandmaster. But first we need to talk about the most important aspect of climbing in any game: mentality. Your mentality is your way of thinking. It's your mindset. This is the step I think most people get stuck at when trying to get better at not just video games, but any skill in life. In my opinion, in order to improve at this, you also have to improve your self-awareness. If I left every game thinking I did awesome and was carrying the team, then either I'm lying to myself or I'd already be in top 500. And honestly, I used to leave games feeling this way. This guy did this wrong, I wasn't getting supported, they weren't getting kills, the tank wasn't pushing up, until I stepped back and got honest about this. And as soon as I did this, my games all started changing. So what was my mentality going into this gold to GM climb? 1, be aware of my flaws. And one of my flaws is that toxic people tilt me. When I get tilted, I don't perform anywhere near peak capacity. And studies in sports psychology even suggest that self-confidence and positive thinking can improve performance by boosting focus and reducing stress. So I went ahead and removed my greatest source of stress from the equation. Now, this is a trade-off. While good communication is a valuable tool, because it is a valuable tool, the amount of games I've had where communication was beneficial, I feel have been outweighed by like toxic, angry people shouting at each other.
Yo, yield is where y'all at. You just can heal me. Keep that shit for yourself. I don't want your petty ass healed rocket. I'm joking, we're pretty good. I just don't like rockets.
So to avoid the risk of becoming tilted and just in my head, I just disabled all communications and focused solely on the game at hand. Again, I'm aware that this is not ideal. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is definitely something I need to embrace and work on in the future. But for now, chat off, voice chat off, lock in. Mentality shift number 2. Losses and being diffed are the most valuable moments in my progress. I used to be so quick with that surrender button. As soon as things felt like just completely out of my hands, I'd be like, no, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the energy for this. And that is honestly the worst mentality to have. These are the moments that you become the most aware of your weaknesses. Embracing the losing games and refusing to surrender will ultimately make you a better player. When I felt like I was being stomped too hard, too hard to even learn in the moment, I went back and observed the match after it ended. And I learned where the Black Panther was gonna be most likely flanking from, and the Psylocke, and I positioned myself in more favorable spots. Now, does watching those games instantly guarantee a jump in ability? No. I can tell you from experience, it does not. But it helps as a stepping stone in the great staircase of progress. We aren't born being able to run a marathon. It takes failing to reach that distance many times before you can cross the finish line of a marathon. It's the same with ranking up. I don't know why I chose a running analogy. I don't run. With my mentality figured out, right, I could finally implement a methodology. Methodology, your method, principles, and rules. Look, insta-locking your favorite character every game is probably the best way to improve at that character. But I don't think it's the best way to increase your rank. At least for me, it wasn't. With the shift in my mentality of accepting what I'm lacking at, I accepted that my mechanical ability is far from what I need it to be to pop off on Spider-Man. Which brings me to rule number 1. Choose characters that offset a lack of mechanical ability. Instead, rely on tactics and positioning. If I had to go DPS, I could pick Punisher and hit a decent amount of shots, but every shot missed equals downtime. So instead of risking not doing enough damage at critical moments, I chose characters that let me do damage more consistently. I had a lot of success with Wanda and Squirrel Girl. I know, you're yelling at me, but it worked. Both of these characters can apply constant damage with little to no aim. And since both are mobile, you can safely flank, getting picks, or even just helping by making the enemy look away from your team. I personally feel like anyone can play Wanda mechanically at kind of the same level. The skill ceiling for Wanda is more like a skill sunroof, it's right above your head in the car. It's not high. So I think that it just comes down to how you juggle your abilities, how you think about throwing your stun, how you assist your team with that freedom of movement. I don't know. That's kind of how I played it, and I had some good results. Rule number 2, getting diffed, make a shift. In most of my games, I got away with being Scarlet Witch. And eventually I got to a point where I was actually going up against very mechanically gifted players, just popping me as soon as I would make an appearance. And I had to make a shift because I was getting diffed. That's when I first started picking up Squirrel Girl. I had never played her before, but I'm like, well, I can utilize walls. I can bounce these projectiles off from places where I'm safe. I can also get really close, and in that mid to close range, Squirrel Girl freaking slaps. And as long as you stay alive, you are not putting your team at a disadvantage. Getting diffed, make a shift. Another example of this is on support. Invisible Woman is my typical support pick. Tons of burst healing, survivability. You have some skill expression in there. You get to grow both mechanically and game sense wise when you play Invisible Woman. However, some of these Black Panthers and Psylocks apparently have heat vision and absolutely decimate me through invisibility. If I'm not alive, I'm not helping. I have to accept the loss of the awesome ult. I have to accept the loss of that burst healing and choose something that keeps me alive, that keeps me in the fight. That means Rocket. Okay, calm down. I don't heal bot on Rocket. I'm not hiding halfway down the map. I'm still in there. I'm still doing damage. I can guarantee in these matchups that if I had stayed on Invisible Woman or gone Luna Snow and just kept dying, we would have lost the game. 9 out of 10 times, the switch to Rocket got us the win. I guess technically 6 out of 7 times. I did this with every role. I never committed to just one character, and typically the swap helped us get the win. So remember, getting diffed, make a shift. For the sake of keeping the video from getting too long, I'm going to share my key principle here. Appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend. March swiftly to places where you are not expected. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Basically, this just means be unpredictable and force the enemy team to divide their focus. High ground, flank, bully. If you march as one unit, you are all equally exposed. If you go Captain America and launch an assault on the backline, even if you don't secure a kill immediately, you create a gap in output from the enemy team. In my experience as Cap, typically at least 2 units will turn their focus to you, effectively creating a 5v4 in your team's favor. Now, this only works if you can stay alive and keep the pressure on. Inevitably, the cracks in their formation will show, and you can take advantage of the moment and secure a kill. The final and most important tactic I used was the fill, observe, adapt method. Let's break it down. Step 1, fill. I tried to never lock in until everyone had selected a character. This allowed people to choose what they were the most comfortable with, enabling them to do their best. In other terms, it enabled me to get carried.
That's so dumb, it makes me mad.
Think of the enemy team for a second. They're insta-locking 3 DPS, then someone chooses tank, who typically plays DPS, and then in response, someone locks in support, who maybe plays tank, and effectively, they've reduced their rank by playing to their weakest roles, or weakest or second weakest. This is assuming a lot. However, with how often people complain about insta-locking players online, I have to assume there's some truth to this. It is my theory that by waiting and filling, I increase the chances that at least one person on my team doesn't get stuck with their worst role. I take on the jack of all trades, master of none mentality. The other team might get unlucky and have a bunch of people filling their least favorite roles. Step 2, observe. Pay attention to your remaining time at all times. See how your team is doing. See where you're not making progress. Let's say you're playing support and your team is struggling to push on to the objective. I would look at the most obvious things first. Are the DPS getting picks? Are the tanks even trying to take space? Is your team dying too fast? When you find the answer, it's time for step 3, adapt. If you're on Rocket and your team can barely get around a corner because they're just getting melted so fast, maybe what you need is a little more burst healing. Maybe you need to go Invisible Woman. Maybe you need to go Cloak and Dagger. Adapting can take the form of a character swap, changing your playstyle to better suit your team, or even a role swap if a teammate is struggling to get value. I learned this from watching my losses and observing how I could have been more useful in those games. The key for me was being honest with myself to make sure I was doing the most I could do in that moment, no matter what else was happening on my team. So we've gone over mentality and methodology. The final step is execution. Execution comes down to simply following the system to the best of your ability.
So let's have a quick recap. Mentality. Be aware of your flaws in-game and out-of-game. Are you easily tilted like me? Are you quick to anger? Do you blame others before yourself? Create systems to avoid or improve on these situations. Next, losses have value. They help you become aware of your greatest weaknesses. Rewatch lost games from multiple perspectives. That includes your teammates and your enemies. Now for methodology. Choose characters that offset a lack of mechanical ability. Focus on tactics and positioning. At least for me, it is much more difficult to improve my mechanical ability than it is to improve at utilizing character abilities and focusing on having good positioning. Every death I ask myself, was that due to bad positioning, and what could I have done differently? Now we turn to Sun Tzu. Appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend, march swiftly to places where you are not expected. Obviously, there are times when you need to be with your team. Always being away and flanking the backline might not be what your team needs at certain moments. I got a better feeling for this by watching replays from other players' perspectives. The secret sauce. Fill, observe, adapt. Fill. Allow your team to choose what they are most comfortable with. Next, observe. Keep an eye on the time and be aware of what is going wrong and what is going right. Finally, adapt. When you identify the problem, make changes that logically counter the issue. This doesn't guarantee anything, but hopefully increases chances of turning things around. Last thing I have to say, this method didn't make me a great player. I think there are tons of people, even in Plat, who could beat me in a 1v1. It did make me more aware of what I could do to help my team succeed. There will be a point where I need to tweak and apply this mindset solely to improving mechanically. I can already feel myself being held back by my mechanical skills. I just think it's cool that in the course of half a season, I was able to increase my rank from gold to GM. And I hope that at least one person finds this video useful and brings them closer to their goals.
In the past, I did not ask these questions after every game, and during every game. And kind of the only thing that changed was me asking these questions. Let me know what you think. Let me know how your comp journeys have been. If you do try this, let me know if you have success. I just wanted to share this because I was so excited to finally kind of come up with something that worked for me. And I hope that it works for other people too, because I know the feeling. I'm going to say it. I want to hit top 500. Is it going to happen? Probably no, but well, anyway, if you're into crafty things, tech stuff, follow the channel. I mostly do building, some crafting. I made this little electronic dice roller, stuff like that. Just fun projects. And if that's your vibe, stick around. If not, that's cool too. I might do more content like this. Have a great day, great night, great evening, whatever time it is where you are. Like and subscribe.